Welcome to Group 1's video demonstration of our campus store project. The purpose of our project was to create an online campus store that supports two different types of users, managers and customers. So if we launch our project here, we can explore some of the different use cases that each user has. We're greeted by the main menu here. If we select create an account, we're taken to this page that has all the fields for account creation. So let's create a new John Doe user. And then it has a default shipping address that it'll use at checkout. All right, let's try and create the account. And we see that we're brought to our first exception. That username is unavailable. So that shows that the serialization is working correctly because on a previous launch, I created a John Doe user with the John username, and the system was able to retrieve that account information and see that that username is unavailable. So let's try and make a Tommy Lloyd user here and see if that username is available. We see that it was. So now we'll try and log in with our new credentials. Let's try another exception. All right, we see that if you enter the wrong username or password, it's not going to let you log in. So let's try and enter the correct password. And we see that it was successful. So now we're at the customer homepage. And from the customer homepage, you can view the store's inventory, view the cart, or log out and go back to main. We're going to choose to view inventory. And this is all the store's inventory displayed here. We can add some items to our cart. We can add 2 basketball jerseys here, accept a quantity. And then let's add a t-shirt and a pullover hoodie. There we go. And we also see that if you try to enter an invalid quantity by just putting a character, it rejects that as an invalid input. It's another exception. So we added some items to our cart. Now we're going to go out to the view cart menu. And there's all our items there. And if we go back one more time, actually, we can see that the inventory was modified correctly. There was 30 in stock. Now there's 28 because we added 2 to the cart. If we go to cart and we decide we only want 1 basketball jersey, we'll edit the quantity, change it to 1. And we also see that when a customer removes an item from their cart, it gets put back into inventory correctly. Now it's back up to 29. All right, let's go back to view cart here. Another option is to just remove an item completely. We'll do that. So we've got the t-shirt and the jersey. Let's go ahead and check out. If we go to the checkout page, it has our order summary. It's got all the items that were in our cart, and then the subtotal and the total order cost that's calculated based off of the customer's tax rate. And then also the shipping address that was entered in at the time of account creation. If we don't want to use that, then we can go ahead and update it now and ship to a different address. Let's do that right there. And we see that once we save it, it's been updated in the order summary. So now we can go to payment, where we enter my very real credit card number here, as well as an expiration date, 123 for the CVV. And we see we're going to observe another exception right now since my card is expired. we're going to see that the system rejects it as an invalid form of payment. And there we go. Card was no good. So let's try and add a new credit card here. And the system also looks to see that the credit card has the correct number of digits, that the date is in the correct format, and the CVV is also in the correct format and has the right amount of digits. Let's do, okay, and we see now that we have a valid form of payment. It confirms our order and issues a confirmation number, which is randomly generated using a timestamp so that no order ends up with a duplicate confirmation number. Okay, that concludes the customer experience. So we'll go out to the main homepage and we'll log in using some of my default manager credentials here. Now we're at the manager homepage. If we go to view inventory, we see the manager's view inventory page looks a little different than the customer's. It has options to edit all the different item attributes. So if we decide we want to put the basketball jersey on sale because they are way too expensive and none of us can afford them, let's do even less than that. Let's do $50. There we go. And it's now been updated. So basketball jersey price is responding correctly. We can edit the quantity, description, name also, or just remove an item completely. So let's remove the women's Wildcat pullover here. Confirm that we do want to remove it. Now if we go down, we see that it is gone from the inventory. If we go back out, another manager use case is adding a brand new item. So let's say we want to add a brand new NCAA basketball to the inventory. We'll put in all the necessary information here and a short description of the item. As well as a quantity. And we'll go ahead and add that to the cart. And all those fields also have exceptions for invalid entries. If you try to do characters for price or other nonsense entries, it's going to reject them. So here we see that our basketball has been added to the inventory successfully. If we go back out, the last manager use case is viewing orders. So we see that we have a record of the order we completed earlier as a customer, and it has all the applicable order information, the order number, customer, the date and time, as well as the cost and shipping address and the rest of the order summary. So that concludes all the use cases for the online store application. If we go back out to Java here, we can view some of the different classes that went into creating the online store. One of the classes that I'd like to touch on in particular is the helper function for the GUI and then the theme for the GUI. So this is something we implemented pretty early on when we first started making our user interface so that we could ensure that it was scalable. Um, we created all the default buttons, fields, texts, uh, headers, font colors, everything's in the theme or the helper function. So that way, later when we wanted to improve our GUI, we could just go in and edit the helper function or the theme, and it would apply those changes across all the different display pages instead of having to go in and change them all individually. So, yeah, at first the GUI was really rudimentary, but later we were able to add, more aesthetic rounded buttons that you can highlight and input fields that also highlight, and having those those helper GUI classes really helped implement that functionality and make the project more scalable. The other thing that helped with scalability, obviously, is just good object-oriented design in general, and organizing all the responsibilities for our objects correctly, whether it's the package, containing the people, customer, manager, and then the class that the inheritance class person, uh, and then obviously all the other objects that go into it. Later, when we're wanting to add in some more functionality, we added the order class and the order history class, the transaction class, and those were all easy to implement because we had used good object oriented design in the beginning of the project. But that concludes the demonstration. Hope you enjoyed our online campus store project.